So, okay, we are all set there. And Nathan, feel free to take over whenever you're able to. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this today.
Perfect. I'll share my screen. But first off, Tyler and Matthew, man, I've been growing this, and I'm older than y'all, I'm sure, for a while. And I am jealous that I'm assuming you're probably in your early 20s, or you might be teenagers. I don't know. But man, those are epic facial hair. Very nice. So, all right. So my name is Nathan McKee. I am the head of people. Our company's name is Crossbow. It looks odd. It's X-Bow. I don't have a reason for that other than we were founded by a few baby boomers and also some Generation X. And back in the day, the X was kind of cool, back like X Games and stuff like that. So, but that is who I am, and I'm going to talk about job searching. So let me share my screen. If at any point you have a question, I have a time at the end of the session for question and answers. But if you're the kind of person that you may forget your question, feel free to put it in the chat. And if I see it while I'm speaking, I have no problem with stopping what I'm doing and answering the question. I say that because I know that some people will if they don't ask right away, they may forget the question. So no problem at all. So with that said, let's get started. And I'm used to having multiple monitors, so forgive me on my Mac. I am not in my home office. I'm actually in San Antonio right now for some other things, and so I typically have more than one monitor. So forgive me if I look foolish to any of you that are younger and better with this than I am. So the first part about job searching, and by the way, my presentation is geared toward not just job searching, but also internship or any kind of employment opportunities, right? So this is not just made for the seniors that are out there looking for what they do when they graduate, but they're also made for internships. So in my role at Crossbow and in my previous roles, part of myself and my team's job is to screen resumes and choose who actually gets pre-screened before they even go to the initial interview. And that process can be daunting because for any job posting, we can have literally dozens of applicants. And so hopefully this will kind of help you choose what jobs to apply for. Then also at the end of it, this session is not made to go through resume writing, but kind of gear you toward like, what should I include and stuff like that. So first off, I want to talk about only worrying about what you can control, right? So self-doubt regarding your abilities. Procrastination is the most common form of resistance, fear in the making, and then your energy and effort. I say all these things because oftentimes I've met recent college graduates that they won't even apply to a job because in the job rec or the job posting, the job will say, required 1 to 5 years of experience, and they won't even try. I'm here to tell you, as a hiring manager, as somebody who has seen my current company grow from about 15 employees to over 70 in the span of about a year. My last company, we grew from, I was literally employee 1 to over 8,000 employees in the span of 6 years. Oftentimes when I write a job posting or a job rec, there's always exceptions to the rule. So when I write, 3 to 5 years of experience, but somebody applies and they have 2 years of experience, but their resume just kind of speaks to me, or maybe we don't actually have a lot of applicants. Sometimes that happens. I will interview them, and sometimes they blow me out of the water. And so don't doubt yourself regarding your abilities. UTSA is a tier 1 school, so your education is top notch. And so don't doubt, I don't know if I can do that. The better question to ask yourself is, do I want to do this? Do I want to be, do I want this job? Procrastination. Don't procrastinate applying for a job, and here's why. Depending on what you Google, most answers are at least within an acceptable range of percentages, but most jobs are filled by one of the first 5 to 10% of applicants. And so I see that true right now. And for those of you thinking, well, that's not fair, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but life isn't fair. And when I'm looking to fill a job, especially one that I need filled immediately, there are, first come, first serve. And a real life scenario is I just filled one of our C-suite positions. That is a new position, but we need it right now. And the second person that applied is the one that got it. And so the earlier you apply in the process, the better for that job. So fear in the making, fear in making a mistake or a wrong decision. Look, and this is a big one as well. I've talked to, quite a few different university students from different colleges, and you're afraid that maybe this isn't the right job for you. I will say, when you're graduating college, getting a job in general is a huge accomplishment, but don't be afraid if that first job isn't your dream job. And I share this because so my company right now, we're a rocket company, right? We make rockets for both missile defense and also for going into space. And so one of the biggest questions I get asked by brand new hires are like, what do you do? How do you compare to SpaceX? And things like that. And so we get asked this quite a bit. It's like, so how does this experience apply to SpaceX? It doesn't offend me at all. I'm not offended at all because SpaceX is cool. I don't have an Elon Musk as my CEO that can go and raise all that kind of capital. And so I have no problem sharing that. Hey, this engineering job applies to this job over. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all, because there's the reality. The first job tenure is less than 3 years, right? In fact, many times it's 2 years or less. Back a long time ago, that was always looked at as a negative feat. It's not anymore. I am kind of the outlier in my generation, so I'm probably older than all of you. I'm 35. I've had 3 jobs since I graduated from Texas A&M. And so I had one job with the Department of Defense for a little bit over 10 years. I had my previous job with a different company in Denver for a little bit less than 6. And I've been at my current job for about 7 months. So, but when I look at resumes for all over the spectrum, most professionals stay at a job for their first job is usually 2 to 3 years. The second job tends to be around 5-ish, but there's always exceptions to the rule. And so do not fear in making the wrong initial job out of college, because chances are that won't be your forever job. And then also, you can control your energy and your effort, right? You can control what you do. You can't control what that other company's going to do with that person at the hiring manager. All you control is you. So we're going to focus on kind of making sure that you understand and what you can do for your job search, right? So what is your attitude regarding the job search, right? Is your attitude, I need a job because I have to pay bills? And by the way, none of these are wrong, because everybody's completely different, right? I need a job because I have to pay bills. I need a job because I have a family. I need a job because I want to have nice things. I need a job because I have student loans. Or are you fortunate enough to say, financially, I'm okay. I'm really looking for that place that I can make a difference. I'm looking for that job where I can make an impact. None of those are wrong answers. And in fact, a lot of jobs will hit multiple items of these. And so we'll kind of talk about that. But what is your attitude regarding the job search? How desperate are you? And again, not even a bad thing. How much do you want to stay in Texas versus living maybe in a different state or a different region? All of those go into how you should search for a job. Don't worry about median uncertainty, right? So, and I apologize, I made this for engineers. The market for engineers is usually better than the rest of the markets. Case in point, depending on which news source you watch, the economy may be going toward a bad time. I'm here to tell you, and I'm not just being nice, I graduated from A&M right when the housing crash happened, which should have been probably worse than what's coming up. I still found a job. My wife graduated from University of North Texas up in Denton around the same time I did, and it took her a little bit longer to find a job, but she still found one. So don't get pessimistic. Don't lose lose heart. But for people in STEM, the reality is that you are in demand, and so don't let fear dictate. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to find a job. Maybe it's going to change my major. Obviously, I'm in the STEM field, but even my last company was a construction company, and we hired engineers all the time. Many employers are or will start hiring again, even if they have a freeze. This tends to be I added this point because I got asked this question a few weeks ago, actually, when I was in California doing a very similar seminar there. What happens if I apply for a job and they rescind my offer? I want to be completely honest. That does happen. And unfortunately, it happens for a variety of reasons. For those of you that watch the news, like Tesla just had something like this happen recently, where they had a layoff, but they also rescinded offers. I will say that's not super common. In my 17 years of being in human resources or in operations, I have literally never rescinded an offer because of the economy, because something happened. The few times I have, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, the few times I have, it's because on their background check, something came back that was not appropriate, or when we were doing reference checks, they lied on the resume. And so, other than that, though, I have literally in 17 years never rescinded an offer. So don't be scared of that. So assess your situation, right? What type of job are you seeking, right? Short-term or long-term? I will say, if you're looking right out of college, again, and I'll say this over and over again, most of these jobs are going to be short-ish term. And that's because of a multiple of factors, but I highly doubt that anybody on this call, when you graduate from UTSA, your first job out, you're going to be at that same job in 5 years. Maybe you will, but I highly doubt it. I will say my brother-in-law went to UTSA, majoring in accounting, and he was at his first job for 11 years. So he kind of bucked the mold. But other people that I speak to, or myself included, it's really, really rare. So short-term versus long-term. And I'll say this as well, if you're looking for internships, if you're looking for part-time jobs while you're in school, obviously those are short-term. Are you looking just to pay bills? Are you looking to get experience? Or are you looking for both? So if you're looking to pay bills and make money, that may influence your decision on what jobs you should look for, right? You should look for the highest paying job versus, are you looking to get experience? And I say that because if you're looking to get experience and you're an engineer, something like NASA could be great. NASA historically just doesn't pay, any government job almost doesn't pay what the private sector will pay, but you get stability and you get this experience that years later could help you make a lot more money. Neither one is good or bad. It's just what's the best fit for you. What are your qualifications? Why should somebody hire you? That's where resume building really comes in handy. So I don't know if you've already had the session on resume building. If you have not, I highly recommend that you attended. And if it's already happened, I recommend you reach out to Ruben and get the video recording of it, because resume building is one of the key features to get noticed. And I say that because in full transparency, when I post jobs, there are some of the jobs that I post that we will literally get 100+ applicants within the span of 3 or 4 days. Obviously, I cannot screen 100 different people for one job. So we go based on the resume. And so I highly recommend that you look into resume building. What I will also say, and hopefully I don't touch on any toes with UTSA, I would not pay somebody to build a resume for you. I would definitely do some research, ask the opinions of people like Ruben. Hey, what does this resume look like? Ruben, I'm sorry, I don't know if you charge or not. If I may have just ruined your business model, but I would definitely get help if you're looking for help. And really try to stand out. Ruben put in the chat, in case anybody hasn't seen it, just having experience is always good and the skills are transferable. Absolutely. And so here's a good example. So we have an entry-level engineer at our company that they're entry level. They graduated from a university and here in Texas that was not UTSA. And they didn't have any experience, entry level position, right? What stood out? Well, what stood out was we just bought a bunch of acreage in the middle of Luling, Texas, out near the Buc-ee's out there. And here's the truth: they're an engineer, but what I really need is somebody who can clear the land and kind of farm the land and get some undesirable stuff out of the land. So what stood out for me for him was he spent 3 summers working in an ag feed store. So he probably knows a little bit about how to treat, trees and how to do things that we don't have an expert on site to do. And so he, his experience at the ag store, which has nothing to do with engineering, stood out. So moving on, and Ruben, in case you all don't see the chat, Ruben said, absolutely, yes, our office is always happy to help with resumes. So reach out to Ruben, get help with your resumes. That is probably step one to even looking at applying to jobs, is make sure you have a resume that is as good and presentable. Where are you likely to have success, right? So you're likely to, oh, my fault. We're likely to have success, right? What industries and fields are hiring? And a lot of these change over time. So when I graduated with my degree, so I double majored in sociology, which unfortunately, hopefully nobody here's a sociology major, not a huge market for sociology, and business. So how did I get into human resources? I got a job with the government, and that is just the job that I got, working for the Department of Defense in human resources, and I absolutely loved it. And so what industries and fields are hiring? That adjusts over time. There are different websites that are better than others. You can look at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. That's a good one. They're always lagging a little bit behind because their data is usually a year old, but typically it's within a good acceptable range. So you can look at BLS. You can look at sites like Indeed or Glassdoor, and they'll tell you, kind of show you which industries and fields are hiring. Obviously, if you already picked out your major and you're graduating, even that though, because you can look at, and say you're a business major, or say you're an engineering major in a specific field of engineering, but you can still kind of pick where you want to go. And that's important, because once you start your career, you can always change. You can always change paths even, but it does become more difficult the older you get and the more into your career you get. So it's important to kind of try to pick which industry, which field do I want to be in. You want to be flexible. You want to compromise and adjust expectations. And I say that not to be negative, but I say that because oftentimes, and I feel like I'm like a dream killer. Oftentimes, you graduate from college or even high school, and we're told, all of us are told, you can be anything you want to be, you can do all this. And so we graduate thinking that we're going to take over the world, but we're also going to do it quickly. We're going to be the CEO of a company within 3 years. I've seen it where I work at now, where I will hire accountants or engineers or even entry-level lawyers for my current company, and they've been here for 5 months and they're looking for their first big promotion after 5 months. And I'm here to tell you from the HR side, usually not the norm. Can it happen? Absolutely, but not the norm. And then you want to stay connected and build personal and professional networks. So, and I say that because here is the unfriendly, not nice truth. Most hires at medium to small size companies are referrals. It's, hey, I know so-and-so graduating from UTSA or graduating from Incarnate Word or graduating from UT Austin or A&M. Hey, I know this person. Hey, I know that person. I will say this, at UTSA, you are fortunate that Ruben, when I was looking for interns, unfortunately, I can only hire 2. Ruben had a stack of resumes ready to send me of people that were qualified and on the ball. But it goes back to the numbers game. I only had 2 spots open, and Ruben, I think, sent me 30 plus resumes. So there's the kind of idea of the odds you're at just for an internship, not even a full-time entry-level job. And so how do you fix that? You stay connected, right? You build a personal and professional network, meaning you're not afraid to reach out to people and say, hey, I'm graduating soon. Do you have anything open? What are you thinking? What do you know? Who do you know? LinkedIn is obviously a good resource. And I'll say this kind of as an old school millennial, those personal relationships of people you actually physically have met tend to be a better builder of job openings or job placements. And so this whole idea requires an action-oriented mindset, meaning if you see an opportunity, you take it. Don't spend, and I'll say this as a hiring manager, don't spend 3 weeks thinking, is that a good job opportunity? If somebody says, hey, I have this opening, would you like it? You should quickly be able to give a yes or a no. Because if you wait 3 weeks with most jobs, they're going to fill it with somebody else, including internships. Same thing with just setting up initial interviews. If check your email often, check your LinkedIn often, because when I send out a message, and I'll send out, 10, 20 messages to, hey, what's your schedule look like this week for an interview? If you take a week to get back to me, there's a decent chance they may have already filled the position with somebody I've already pre-screened or interviewed. And so before COVID, unemployment quickly went from 4 to 20% in 1 month at the beginning of COVID. And I bring that up because things can quickly change. In the chat, in case you all don't have it open, Ruben said there is a presentation coming for LinkedIn, and he sent the link to RSVP. Absolutely, whoever's teaching that is probably going to do a fantastic job. I would definitely get on there and register and get some training on LinkedIn. So you want to stay focused, right? Look at the scope of your job search, geographic, industry, job title, organization size. I really tell people, if you spam every job opening on Indeed or Glassdoor or even LinkedIn, chances are you're going to find a job. You'll get hired somewhere. But I say this, and your first job, and it kind of contradicts a little bit what I said earlier, you probably won't be at your first job for more than 3 years, but I tell people to really think about it. For me personally, geography and industry matter more than my job title or organization size. But that's me personally. Doesn't mean it's right. That's just because of where I'm at. So I currently live in New Mexico. I lived in Colorado before that. I'm from San Antonio. Like, I went to Judson High School. I don't hate Texas at all, but it's hot here. And I like the mountains. So geography wise, I like mountains. And so that's where I want to live. And I've lived all over the US. I've lived from Florida to the West Coast. I've lived all over. I just prefer the mountains. And so I will say that is important. Industry is important. So I started my career off at the Department of Defense. So I lean toward that government contracting side of things. Does it mean that will be the only spot I ever work at? Absolutely not. But I enjoy and I'm good at the interacting with the United States government or state governments. Job title. People get caught up on job title quite a bit. And I tell them, while job title is important because you want it on your resume and on your LinkedIn, it's not the most important thing. Here's a good example. My job title here at this company is head of people, yet I'm not just HR. I oversee IT. Pretty much anything that doesn't make money for the company. All the admin stuff, I oversee IT, HR, I oversee safety, so OSHA stuff like that. I oversee procurement, so going out and actually purchasing some of the energetics and some of the things we use to launch and blow up missiles. While job title is important, it's not the most important. And then organization size. I have friends all over HR, all over the country. In fact, all over the world, because when I worked for the DoD, I was all over the place. And I have some people that I know that are caught up on, I never want to work for a large organization because I just get caught up. I'm just a cog in the machine. And I have other friends that only want to work for small organizations. There are pros and cons to both. The pro of a big organization is, the chance of a layoff is usually slim. They may have better benefits overall. The con is, typically, and nowadays it's hard to promote from within, and change doesn't happen quickly. The con of small organizations is, are they going to be in business in 10 years? Are they going to grow? And so there's pros and cons to both. Moving on, look to continually improve. I call this assessing the process, right? So let's say you're applying at jobs, and you're not even getting interviews, right? Or maybe you get one interview and then you're ghosted, right? Not like, assess the process, right? That's when reach out to Ruben. Hey, can you look at my resume? What am I doing wrong? Or reach out to Ruben or other people on staff and say, hey, and maybe my interview skills, like what's going on? And I'll say this, especially from entry level, there is usually a small percentage over who do I hire, who do I not hire. Oftentimes, it comes down to little small details that somebody may just have a better fit for what we're doing. So assess your process. Where are you applying for jobs, right? The preferred job board that I used to recruit the most from is Indeed, personally. The reason for that is that just gives me the largest applicant pool that I can pull from, and I have no problem spending, a couple of hours going through resumes. Glassdoor also works well for us. My previous job, it was LinkedIn. It was almost completely LinkedIn. And so I will say, don't be caught up on one job board versus the other. Definitely use all three, which means your resume should be uploaded differently to all three, because all three have different user interface functions. Be realistic. And this one, again, I feel like I'm a dream killer. I don't mean to be rude. Hopefully I don't offend anybody here. And if I do, you can tell me so in the chat. And but I tell this to new graduates: be realistic, meaning that entry-level salary. I'm in HR. I can benchmark everything. I can pull data from different sources and tell people what the data shows that is the midpoint of where they should be paid. And here's the thing, though: not every company can afford to pay midpoint all the time. Just meaning you're in that 50th percentile of the pay range for that geographic region. And so be realistic on your pay. Be realistic on the hours, right? And here's a harsh reality: if you're a salaried employee, your first job may not be a 40-hour work week. You may not have that perfect work-life balance. And so we'll talk about this a little bit in a couple of slides later, but when you're negotiating, something that only you know what's important to you. And you can negotiate a little bit with the salary versus the PTO or the vacation time versus just the regular hours, but be realistic of what the market is dictating. Remain confident. So I will say this from an interview perspective: one thing that definitely is not a make or break, but is definitely a negative, is some of them interviewing, the resume looks great, but they have no confidence. So when I ask a question, that is specific to that job, and their answer is, I don't know, and their eye contact wanes, or they start fidgeting, and then they don't answer the question directly. It's not a make or break for me, but it definitely is something that is, if I have two people that are tied and they're both equally graded well for this job, then the person that's not confident is probably going to be the one we pass on. And again, for those of you that are thinking in your mind, well, that's not fair, Nathan, like I'm an introvert, or I'm this or I'm that. Here's the truth: it doesn't matter. Life's not fair. The confident person is the one that we tend to give the job to much of the time. And by the way, for those of you thinking that, if you take any Myers-Briggs test at UTSA or any kind of personality test, I'm an introvert. I had to learn how to speak publicly. I had to learn how to give presentations and how to interact with people. I naturally don't wake up in the morning going, I'm giving a presentation today in front of a bunch of people. It's just not my personality. And so remain confident. When you're interviewing, remain confident. Remember, employers need you just like you need them. So remain confident. And as you're looking for a job, especially those of you that are looking for internships, or you're looking for jobs for when you graduate, legitimately make it part of your day. Block out part of your calendar, and this is what I'm going to do every day for as much time as you have that you can block off. So if you're looking for an internship for the fall semester, for winter, or even for next summer, block off time for your day to where that's what you're going to do every day. Even if it's just an hour, every day I'm going to look for opportunities. If you're looking for a job, same thing. Every day it's part of my day. And because it is a numbers game, you're going to have to apply at a good number of positions for you to get that position you're looking for. Be organized, right? So have a spreadsheet available. If you all don't have Excel on your personal computers, Microsoft has a bundle for students. I'm sure UTSA actually sells probably the dongle at the bookstore, the digital access to the bookstore. I don't work for UTSA. I'm not getting any money from this, but I would say go visit the UTSA bookstore and get you Microsoft Office for Mac or for Windows, and get Excel and make a spreadsheet. I applied for these jobs. This is the pay ranges. This was the locations. You may not know the pay ranges. Certain states have laws where they have to post the pay range. Other states don't. So you may not have the pay ranges, but all the data you can put in there, put into a spreadsheet. I would set a weekly goal. I'm going to apply X amount of jobs per week, and make sure you hit that goal, almost like it's a sales quota. So anybody who's ever worked in sales in this call, almost like it's a sales quota. I'm going to apply for this many jobs per week. Make sure you schedule yourself to do it. And then I put this last on there because location really matters. Put the locations, because every geographic location has a different microeconomy. And so if you're applying for jobs in San Antonio, or maybe you want to leave outside of San Antonio, you want to stay in Texas, definitely put the locations. Also put the locations of the positions that you're getting feedback from, right? So let's say you're applying for jobs in Houston, and those tend to be the jobs that are giving you the most hits. Maybe you transfer some of your energy to applying for jobs just in Houston, right? So, and by the way, I made those last things up. I have no idea which economies are better in Texas right now for different positions. So please don't take that as any kind of hard, hey, leave San Antonio. By all means, if you love San Antonio, stay here. It's a big city. You could probably find a job. Focus first on organizations, not just openings. So this is what I say when you're not desperate, when you have time and you've thought about the process. So maybe you don't graduate for a year, maybe you don't graduate for 6 months. You have actually time, right? You don't have to have a job right now. And real quick, for those that haven't seen the chat, Ruben said that you can download off Microsoft Office and all Adobe products through UTSA. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't know you can download Adobe products. I'm a big Photoshop and Illustrator nerd, so that's pretty cool, actually. Focus first on organizations, not just openings, right? So if you have a long, drawn out lead time, focus first on where do you want to work. Meaning, if you're into tech and you love tech and you want to, hey, I want to work for SpaceX, I want to work for Tesla, I want to work for the Boring Company, right? One of Elon Musk's companies. Focus first on trying to get a door somewhere in one of those companies. I use those because they're big and well known. But if your focus is something else, right? You want to work for an organization that focuses on the military, right? Focus on USAA, something like that. But focus first on the organizations you want to work for, not just the openings they have. Now, that is if you are lucky enough to plan ahead and have the time to do that, right? And I say that because oftentimes you can get put in their HR database with your resume. And I'll say this from personal experience. The Department of Defense does this, right? We have a whole database full of resumes and we search keywords for the resume. So I need XYZ. I will go search that before I post a job. If I can find somebody in that location that already has that, I don't post a job. I don't need to go through a bunch of resumes. Maybe this person can be the fit. Find offline jobs and or contacts. And I kind of said this a little bit earlier, right? So locate small and medium employers in your area, right? So if San Antonio is a tremendously economically advanced city, right? So you have opportunities here that don't exist where I live right now in Albuquerque because it's such a larger city. So locate small and medium employers in your area. Cold call and email. And I know for millennials and Gen Z and whatever the next generation after this is going to be called, like that sounds crazy, right? Why would I call anybody who I don't know? Number one, why would I even call? Why can't I just text? But I will say, cold call and email. And I'll say this, if there's a company you really want to work for, annoy them until you get a response. Keep blowing up their inboxes until you get a response. The response might be, sorry, we're not taking applications right now, but at least you have some kind of response. Connect with the local chamber of commerce. A lot of people don't think about that, but the chamber of commerce, so in San Antonio, you actually have more than one. In fact, every little suburb usually has their own. So Alamo Heights has one, Bernie has one, Chavano Park has one. Obviously, you have the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, and then you have the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as well, which is also downtown. And for those that aren't Hispanic, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce does not discriminate. They literally don't care if they have job openings. They will try to fill them. And so I highly recommend, if that's always another avenue, I would just call up the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, can you get access to your job boards? Sometimes they won't have job boards. They will literally have old school job postings at the physical office. I advise drive down and see what they have. And that's also tends to be your local contact, right? So a lot of small businesses will use a Chamber of Commerce because they don't really know what to do. And they're already paying the Chamber of Commerce a fee already. And so the Chamber kind of helps direct, hey, this is how you recruit. So definitely reach out because oftentimes they can hook you up with the owner of a business, directly. Reach out to faculty, advisors, relatives, and friends. And so I'll say this, UTSA has a great job placement program, right? And so I would reach out to them. I would not depend on any one source for everything, but reach out to the faculty, meaning your professors. So I share this personal story. When I graduated from A&M, I graduated during not just a recession, but like a catastrophic economic failure, right? Everybody was losing money, homes were being foreclosed on, the economy was crashing. And I got a job because my Texas A&M professor knew somebody that gave me a job. And um, again, I shared this in California and somebody interrupted and said, well, that's not fair. And I hate to break it to people, but that's just literally life. Life's not fair. And so talk to your faculty, talk to your advisors, and then relatives and friends, right? So if you know somebody that works at USAA and that's where you want to work, somebody that works at here in San Antonio at Boeing or at Lockheed or some of these big companies, reach out to them and say, hey, how can I get in? Rackspace over on the Northeast side is famous for, I don't remember the numbers now, we can probably Google it, but it's something like 90% of their new hires are referrals. And so, knowing somebody that works there already gives you an in. So don't be afraid to network outside of your normal kind of online networking. Dust off your materials, right? So prospecting emails, again, that goes back to cold calling and cold emailing, right? Don't be afraid to adjust your email and say, man, this just isn't working. I tell people when they're applying for jobs, look at your resume constantly and get multiple feedback, right? Your cover letter. I will say this, I think I'm probably not the norm. Cover letters, I don't personally care about cover letters very often. In fact, for most people, most jobs I recruit, the cover letter is really important for the higher level jobs. And I'm talking about 10 plus years of experience. That's just me. I will say that I think most HR professionals really dictate on the resume. I'm not saying not to have a cover letter, but don't stress about I have to have the perfect cover letter. Your LinkedIn profile, that's very important. I would say that's probably equally as important as your resume. And then your Handshake account. So for those who don't have a Handshake account, UTSA is on Handshake. Absolutely make your Handshake account because I know personally that is where I get a lot of my entry level new hires from. I either get them directly from the schools for somebody like Ruben, where I say, hey, I have full-time jobs. Can you reach out from your office and send me some resumes? Or I get on Handshake and I post on Handshake. And those are typically how I do it. And so I would definitely make a Handshake account. And for those of you that don't know what a Handshake account is, reach out to Ruben directly. I'm sure he can help you get that set up. Sorry, Ruben, I didn't mean to volunteer you, but I volunteered you. So plan it out. So expand your network, right? Actually talk to people. And I say that because as an introvert and a millennial, I am married and my wife and I rarely talk on the phone. It's almost always texting. But I will say this, when you're looking for a job, talk to people. Actually call them. Actually see if you can meet them in person and actually use your voice. With that being said, that means also practicing your verbal communication skills. Go to where they are. So virtual fairs, live career fairs, information sessions, virtual conferences, right? All those are pretty standard. From the recruiting side on my end, I prefer to go to the live career fairs over all else and the information sessions, right? I like those more than anything else. But I will say, obviously, it's very easy to attend a virtual fair. You do it from the comfort of your home, right? So really, there's no reason not to attend these things. Know what you need and want and dream of. What do you need for money? So I think that's important. And I think oftentimes people are nervous when talking about money, but what do you need? What is the salary or the hourly wage you need to be okay? And that's not wrong to want that. And so this part here isn't about negotiating, but I will say, brush up on the skills of what you need to negotiate and what you need to get the pay you want to make. Also kind of be flexible, but that's definitely important. Short versus long term. And so think about this, right? Typically you're going to have a 40-ish year career, right? So what do you want that career to look like? Meaning you're majoring in a certain major. Where do you want that major to take you? What do you want to be long term? So personally, I'll be upfront with you all. Like what I want to be long term is what I'm going towards. Is, I want to be the chief operating officer, right? I want to be the COO, and so that is what I'm working towards. And so You may not want to be in the C-suite, and that's fine, but what do you want long-term? Keep your skills sharp for transition, right? Keep those skills updated and sharp, meaning whatever your major is, don't get lax just because you graduate with a degree. Location's important, and I say this to all graduating seniors. Where do you want to live? And sometimes you don't have a choice in that, because sometimes you already have a family, you already have obligations, you have things that keep you in the city you're in. Nothing wrong with that, but where do you want to live? I was recently in California, and I did something very similar over there, and I informally asked the students, where do you want to live? And I got all kinds of different answers, from those that wanted to stay in that part of California to those that are saying it's too expensive, I can't afford to live here, I can never buy a home here. And in fact, most of the answers were, I'm staying in California, I'm moving to Texas, or I'm moving to Colorado. Those were typically the answers that I got over there. On the East Coast, it was a little bit different. I was in New York recently, and from there I got all kinds of answers. Some of them were even international. But I would figure out, where do you want to live? Because just like a job, where you're living can impact your life just as much as having a job you like. Prioritize mobility over loyalty to a single organization. And I say this, and it's not popular within HR trends, but I'll say this: be open, even once you have that first job, to, if another one comes along. Now, the grass isn't always greener, but if another one comes along, don't be afraid to at least consider that option. And so that goes back to, your first company probably won't be the one you're at for a long time, but prioritize, if something else comes along, maybe I'll take it. And it goes back again to, your first job won't be the one you have forever. So take action, right? So contact recruiters, contact friends, contact family, faculty, create a relationship, both for now and later. So the current job I have right now came about because the company I work for now paid for a recruiting package from Columbia up in New York. I went to Columbia for graduate school, and so that's how they found me, right? I was part of that alumni network. So UTSA has an alumni network. I would definitely join it. Yes, I know you're sighing, it's not free. It is definitely worth the small amount of money you pay, because you never know who 5 or 10 years from now is going to say, you know what, I really want to get somebody from UTSA because I went to UTSA. Bias of school is a real thing. Not for me, because I really just want to get the best person for the job, and that's the legitimate answer. But I went to A&M. If you met anybody from A&M, it's like a cult, and they recruit heavily from A&M. I don't do that, because the best people can be at all universities. Our CEO went to University of Texas, by the way, and we have a bunch of engineers that are from all over the country. So that is kind of where I would say, definitely make sure you're part of the alumni network. Apply. As cheesy as that sounds, don't be scared to just apply. Apply online, and then follow up with emails straight to the HR department, and then follow up. And I put on there, with a human. So if you have a contact, if you have somebody that you can actually reach out to, maybe you have their cell phone number or you have an email, follow up with that contact, usually in HR, but follow up with that contact. And again, I say this, annoy them until you get some kind of answer. Even if the answer is, we went with a different route or the position's filled, annoy them till you get an answer. Often, I've made lots of hires simply because this person has annoyed the heck out of me. They have annoyed me until, and they've stuck out, because they've stuck out from the others, because man, they just keep annoying me. So yeah, I'm going to go with this person because they really want the job. So again, just to start, right? Joint handshake. Make sure you connect with faculty. Connect on LinkedIn, right? On LinkedIn, join the alumni groups. Join the UTSA Alumni Association, Glassdoor. Going global is good for those that are on H-1Bs. I don't know how many we have on this call. It's none of my business if you're on an H-1B. But if you have an H-1B, if you're here on a visa, then join the Going Global. That will help you with, once you graduate, and you're probably on a J1 right now. Once you graduate with that J1, converting it to an H1. And so for those of you that don't know what any of that means, it's if you're on an education visa and you want to convert that to a work visa, Going Global is a network of employers that will help you in that process. join student organizations, join professional associations. So, and I say this in my current company, we're an aerospace company. So when I recruit, a lot of times I'm recruiting from the rocket teams. UTSA has one. And we have 2 interns that are one's right now and one's going to be throughout the year, that are part of the Rocket Club. And so, and the same thing happens at other universities I recruit from as well. Professional organizations. Again, if your industry has a organization's professional organization, join that. So in HR, it's called SHRM. So, join that organization. Go to industry conferences. So industry conferences are good for networking, right? So if you're looking for a new job or you're looking for the entry level job and you can join a conference that is your, for your preferred industry, then join that conference. Indeed, I say only for employers because people that post internships on Indeed, it's just really, really hard. I would say if you're looking for an internship, go through Ruben and try to have Ruben help you out with that. But if you're looking for an actual job, Indeed is my preferred. I don't get paid by Indeed. That's just my preferred reference. Every HR person probably has their own preferred method of recruiting. Indeed's my favorite. But that's only if you're actually looking for a job. And Ruben did say many of their organizations, student organizations, regularly attend their national chapter conferences. So definitely get involved with those. Tools of virtual search, right? Practice interviewing, both digital and in person. And I say that practice interviewing. I can't stress that enough. Practice getting in front of people. Practice whether it's in person or on a computer. Do both. Practice over Zoom or Microsoft Teams or GoToMeeting, but practice with friends and family. If UTSA has somebody you can practice with people at UTSA, because interviewing is a skill. And so the more you practice, the better you're going to be at it. Always continue networking. Always continue networking. I love where I'm at right now. I plan on being here for a while, but my network is always expanding. Keep improving your professional skills. So if you graduate with an education degree, you graduate with a degree in engineering, or graduate with a degree in human resources, whatever your degree is, or you graduate with a degree in business, always keep improving your professional skills. Continue to take, free online classes, free trainings, or even pay for them if you need to. And the last one is, and this isn't, it's probably a topic for another time, I'm sure Ruben will cover, negotiate. Even in a tough market, negotiate. What I mean is, what is important to you? So if you find the company you really, really like, and you've had the interviews and now the job offer has happened, do not be afraid to, whether it's money or vacation time or something else, don't be afraid to ask. And so worst thing to say is no. So when I make a job offer at my current company, I'll be upfront with everybody here. I make the best offer monetarily I can. And that means that it almost is a take it or leave it type offer. But there's always a few things we can negotiate in there, right? Start dates, vacation time, something like that can be negotiated. Even sometimes the money can be negotiated. So the biggest one that I do negotiating is usually relocation, because we have offices across the US. And so oftentimes I'm asking somebody to move. And so what does that look like? So with that being said, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And I want to open it up to any questions you all may have.
Hello, I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes.
So going back to salary or pay, you were saying that it depends on in the state as far as when, or how it could be disclosed. I mean, is that something that normally you ask in an interview, or is that something that you should already know going into the interview?
So I have no problem discussing it on the first interview, but I will say, talking to a lot of my colleagues, that's not the norm, right? Like, we all go to work to make money. It literally doesn't bother me at all to talk about money. But you're absolutely right. So depending on the state law, employers don't have to post what the salary or hourly range is. So Your more conservative states, and I'm not getting political at all, but your more conservative states will usually not require the posting. Your more liberal states will. So California, Colorado require the job pay in the postings. Certain East Coast states also require that. So to answer your question without trying to be too HR vague answer, typically if you like the company, I would not ask on the first interview, but I would ask on the second one. Because what you don't want to do is waste your time with a job that's not paying what you want to get paid, right? So if you need $55,000, right, that's what you need to live on, and the job maybe pays, 50, that $5,000 can be make or break for you. You don't want to waste your time on 3, 4, 5 interviews, and then a job offer comes and it's offensive. And so I bring it up usually in the first interview that I'm talking to somebody. I'll bring it up. What do you want to get paid? Right? What will it take to make you leave that company? What are you looking for in salary? Or if it's entry level, I don't ask that for entry level because we have a pay band for entry level. I just tell them, hey, this is the salary. And I put it in my job postings too, no matter what state they're in. But I say, hey, this is the salary for the position. Is that acceptable for entry level people? So hopefully that answers your question. As you get further and further in your career, I will say typically that should come on like the third interview sometimes. But again, you don't want to waste your time. Did I answer your question? I didn't mean to dance around it. If I did, I apologize.
Yes. You did.
And for those that are going to move out of state or even out of San Antonio, definitely look at cost of living. Here's a real life scenario. So we have people in my current company, they're going to move from New Mexico to Austin. New Mexico's cost of living is not that high. It's in fact on par or lower than San Antonio in most instances. Austin is stupid high. And so one of their questions was, are we going to get a pay increase? And so again, I believe in pay transparency. So everybody that works for me knows what I make. It's not a secret. They can look and see exactly what Nathan makes. I'm not saying that's normal, and a lot of companies don't do that. They don't know what the CEO makes, but they know everybody that works for me directly knows exactly what I make. And so salary, I believe, is becoming more and more an open, transparent process. But I think it'll probably be the generation after y'all's that actually has full transparency, to be honest. And I will say, to also just kind of dive into that as well, for an employer that won't release what they're going to pay, even after the second interview, like let's say you ask and they'll say, oh, we'll get to that later. That to me is a huge red flag. I would say I'm out. And so typically if they don't bring it up, but you bring it up and they won't discuss it even after the second interview, no matter how, unless you're desperate, like I'm going to get foreclosed on, my kids can't eat, I'd be out. I'd be looking for a different place. Typically employers like that are going to, and I feel bad because I don't want to demonize anybody. I won't say any names, but employers like that will get to the last process, probably know you're desperate, and offer you some ridiculously lowball offer. At that point, it's a waste of your time. And by the way, I've been there, by the way. I interviewed for a job. I was sold. I interviewed for a job in Durango, Colorado. Durango, if you all haven't been there, it's like heaven on earth. It is beautiful. It's also very expensive. You can't buy a decent house for less than $600,000. And that's a house that's probably dated and old, and my wife doesn't even want to live there. $600,000 for probably a piece of crap house. Can I say crap? That's probably a bad word. Sorry. Interview for a job. They flew me out there. They wined and dined me. I was all happy. I even asked about salary. So I fell for the con that I preach against. So I'm a hypocrite because I was sold. Like I wanted to live in Durango. They made a job offer that legitimately was offensive. Like legitimately, I looked at it and had some cuss words come out. And I was like, I can't, because I printed it. That's why my hand's like this. It was insane to me. Like, why would you offer that? And I'm not trying to be arrogant or cocky, but it was an offer that I hadn't made that much money since I was literally a fresh out of college graduate. And I'd been doing this for 17 years or 16 years at the time. And so I ghosted them. I know that's messed up. we don't want to go, but I was like, and I finally told him, hey, that offer you made was offensive. Well, that's a negotiating tactic. That is the worst BS negotiating tactic ever. Literally, you offered me almost 6 figures less than I make right now. Why would I even consider coming to you? So, so good question.
Nathan, I have a question. I was wondering, what would be a good strategy? So if you're about to graduate in a year and you're looking for your job searching right now, a lot of the jobs that you're looking for, they're looking to hire either right now or the next 3 to 6 months. What would be a good strategy to go about job searching a year away from when you want to actually get employed?
Absolutely. So I would identify companies you think you want to work for and reach out to the HR department directly and say, hey, exactly what you said, to be honest. Hey, I'm graduating in a year. I'm looking to get things lined up. So I make offers sometimes a year out. It happens. Now, there you live in Texas. These are offer letters and unemployment contracts. Those are two separate things, which means there's no obligation. You can ghost me a year from now, and I can't sue you for anything. Same thing as I can rescind the offer. Again, I've never rescinded an offer that wasn't for cause. Depending on what your major is, I would also look for internships. So I will say both my previous company, which was a construction company, and the company I'm at right now, a high percentage of our entry-level employees come from interns that we just hire full-time when their internship is done. So if you don't mind me asking, what is your major?
Major's mechanical engineering.
Okay. So great major. You will have a ton of job opportunities. My brother-in-law went to UTSA. He was in your program. He's a mechanical engineer right now. And he actually graduated again during the recession. We're the same age. It was hard for him to find the initial first job, but he found one. He was there for about 3 years, and then he got a different job that he loves now. He'll never have a different job, I think, because he works remote. He travels and does other things. So we hire mechanical engineers where I'm at. We're a small company, and so typically the ones that I hired that are entry level came from internships. However, depending on what kind of route you want to go with your engineering, I would start reaching out to those companies right now and say, hey, I'm graduating in a year. Do you have any internships available? If you have the ability to intern, not everybody has the ability to intern because you need a better wage or maybe your workload's too much, but I would intern. And if you can't intern, just get that contact. Hey, I'm graduating in a year. Can I come by and shake your hand? As cheesy as that is, if they're in San Antonio, can I come by and shake your hand? As crazy it is when you go like outside San Antonio, if you have the ability to travel. When I was living in Denver, people that travel to Denver just to literally say, here's my resume, I hired a lot of them because it took effort, obviously money to travel up there, to come up and say, hey, I want to be part of your company in a year. So hopefully that answers your question. I would also, being a mechanical engineering, I would try to narrow down what do you want to do with that? Because it is a broad degree, right? It's not as broad as business or something else, but it is a broad, you can do a lot of stuff with it, right? My last company was a construction company. We had mechanical engineers. We have mechanical engineers where I'm at right now. We're an aerospace company. My brother-in-law is a mechanical engineer. He worked for a company that designed like wings for different planes and stuff like that, different aircraft. And now he works for a company that goes into HEB and fixes the freezing fridges when they break. And he loves it. Never would have guessed he'd have done that. So hopefully I answered your question a little bit.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Anybody else? What I really want to know is how long did it take Tyler and Matthew to grow their beards out? Because this is not working for me.
1 month.
What?
I've been growing it out since I was 15.
Okay.
I've been working on it since October last year. So
okay. Very nice.
We're about at time, but if anybody has just like one final, or just anybody has anything else really quick. Otherwise, this was recorded, so I'll be sending out to everybody who I have here on the contact list. So if you didn't RSVP in the Rowdy Link event, I imagine everyone did if you're here, but just make sure, because that's who I'll be sending it out to. I'll put my email in the chat too, just like if you don't get it for whatever reason, I can follow up with you directly. So just let me know if you end up not receiving it for any reason. But we'll send out the recording, as well as Nathan, if you're able to send me the slides or like any resources too,
Yeah.
That'd be great. And we'll have a brief survey as well. So, but otherwise, this was great, Nathan. Thank you so much for the time. And yeah, you really just like hit on everything that they should be doing. So thanks for that. And look forward to having you on campus in September as well.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And everybody else, thanks so much for attending today. We hope to see you at future sessions. I had put in the chat earlier, if you wanted to go look, next week's presentation is about LinkedIn, which Nathan touched on. So just the importance of kind of how to build an effective profile and how to utilize that to better your chances in the job search as well. So hope to see you there as well. And y'all have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks so much for being here.
Perfect.
Thank you, Nathan.
Bye, everybody.
Ruben.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you.